leftist lies.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Brock Lawley program, and this is the segment where we tackle the news headlines, get down in the mire and the muck, get our hands dirty, at least I do, and then I bring you out the golden nuggets, sifting out the leftist lies like the chaff, the throwaway disposable chaff that it is, and serving up the golden wheat of truth for your ADD reality television show mind. That's why you come here, the alternative media, the only place in this lapdog, left-infested media that you can trust. Let's jump into the stories. Stevens has a piece in the Wall Street Journal. Ebola lesson. Don't trust government bureaucracy. It's a cheap, knockoff, self-winding watch, not a Rolex. Ladies and gentlemen, this could not be more true. If you're still one of those Walking Dead zombies marching in lockstep towards the government, government is sound. Government. It's my zombie. It needs some work. If you're still doing that, there is no quarter for you. There is no rational or reasonable quarter for you. You're just lost, I suppose, because there is so much evidence. There's ample evidence. It is hand in front of your face time that government cannot, won't, and will not, even if they can, do anything for you. They care about themselves, and beyond that, they're totally incompetent and corrupt. Moving on. Here we go. In keeping with my goal of trying to bring you stories that I know your lapdog media won't tell you, the UN just comes out with a statement, quote, "We can't guarantee Iran is developing nuclear weapons for peaceful purposes. Thank you for coming to the dance during the last song, UN." Funded by taxpayers, UN. Iran on the Women's Rights Council, UN. Anyway, since the leftists bow like the golden calf to the UN, there you go. On Obama's watch, Iran is a hop and a skip and a jump away from becoming a nuclear power. The thought of that to any rational person, any person, right or left, should be terrifying. So across the pond, Denmark's got a new strategy with Islamists. Welcome home, terrorists. Ticker tick parade, arms wide open. Prodigal son style. Not the approach I would support the U.S. doing, but the Danes claim that this is going to be their new strategy. A little bit of Chamberlain, if you've read your history in this one. Washington Post has that one. You know, the idea of capitulating or trying to reason with this degree of evil will fail, and it will fail bloody. Just fools chasing a fool's errand, the carrot on the stick with these bloodthirsty headloppers. Breitbart has an interesting piece. America not feeling so good about the, I like this leftist term, status quo. Only 7% of Americans think Obama fail. The Affordable Unaffordable Care Act will reduce their health care costs. And I don't know how you can go any lower in a poll. I didn't know you could get to 7% in a poll. But to be perfectly honest, between you and me, I don't know how 7% of Americans think that Obamacare is going to be a success for them. A news story that I recently read said Obamacare policyholders, those poor saps, can't even use Obamacare because the premiums are too high. And the left will scream, this is good reason for government takeover, single payer. You see how this works? Government fail should be remedied by more and bigger government fail. You see that reason? And if you don't see it, you're probably not voting the Democratic Party in November. Milbank has a really, really interesting piece in the Washington Post. Nobody is excited about Obama now. Referencing people walking out of his speeches and whatnot. Even his most loyal supporters, even the constituency that's voting like 98% Democrat, black voters, are just totally disgusted with him. They're getting all these crazy poll numbers in. Can you even imagine how unpopular this guy would be if the press were against him like they were against George W. Bush? Can you even imagine? I guarantee you this man would be impeached if he had the press the W had. That's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. In very troubling throwback Cold War news, a CEO of a giant French oil company mysteriously dies in a plane crash on Moscow's runway. Russia becoming an inherently corrupt and dangerous Kremlin-style thuggish place. Those people could have taken a totally different turn. And just between you and me, I'd be willing to bet that the air traffic controller in the tower when this was taking place knew exactly where that snowplow was. You can read about the story in the wallstreetjournal.com. Putin, ladies and gentlemen, on parade, if you ask this guy. Leftists working hard, double time, triple time, overtime, union time to restrict free speech in the United States, and all under the guise of campaign finance reform. This has got to be one of the boldest, bravest, audacious moves of hypocrisy I have ever seen in politics. The left is bathing in money. Bathing in big corporate money. Do you want to know when BO takes all these trips all over the country? You know what he's doing? He's raising money, ladies and gentlemen. And then they come out and they talk about the evil of, wait for it, conservatives and money in politics. You couldn't choke this down, ladies and gentlemen. It's that in your face hypocritical. But again, if you have a lapdog as your media, you pretty much do and say anything, and they are. You're gonna love this one. I love when these political correct grenades blow up. Okay, so a girl gets in to Wellesley. Then she changes her gender to male, to try to get out in front of the social engineering curve, you see. So she changes her gender to male because, see, that's the gender she relates to. Feels, if you will. So she's making a habit of kicking in the male bathroom door now. And then, once she's there, she now can't take a leadership position because, wait for it, he is a white male now running against minority girls. This is a true story. National Review has this one. This is life on a progressive, regressive, politically correct social engineering campus in this country. This is the convoluted cesspool progressive policies land you. So discombobulated, up, down, nobody even knows what's going on. Now this spoken word transy is also stepping in it politically because she's running against minority women. So it's one of these battle royales of the victimcrat. Is it this girl who's a boy who's really a girl who thinks she's a boy who feels like a boy, or is it minority women? Who will win? I'm just pointing this out to you. This is the mind, this is the ideology, and more importantly, this is the people that govern your country. Vote accordingly. On the good news front, by now you've probably heard everybody in Texas is Ebola free. Those who were in contact with the unfortunate Mr. Duncan do not share his fate, except for 2 nurses. New York Times has that piece. Also, the Spanish nurse now free of Ebola, so that's good news as well. Back to the slums. Kerry over there talking about how Israel, ladies and gentlemen, the Jews, those evil Jews with the long nose, says Kerry. Kerry's one to talk, are responsible for ISIS. Every time you think that this buffoon, this political buffoon, was almost the president, you should hit the knees and thank God. And I shudder to think, how much more damage he could do as Secretary of State. This guy is an empty suit. If ever we've seen one on the political landscape, it's remarkable to see this. A pastor and his wife now sued for not performing a same-sex marriage, and this is exactly what we were told would not happen. But of course, this was exactly the purpose of the social engineering. That's what people like me said. It has really nothing to do with gay people marrying. That was never the point. That's not the point. The point of the power structure, in other words, the point of the people making policy, is to persecute people of religious faith. That's always been the point. It's very, very revenge-driven. It's remarkable to see this. The fascists in your country, ladies and gentlemen, now wear pink, without a doubt. Hillary apparently will say whatever you want her to say when you invite her to speak. It's that shameless. A Wall Street Journal points that out side by side with comparison speeches. It's pretty remarkable and shameful. But again, you would need a media to know about that. The Fed chair lectures people in the latest lecture about income inequality. And yes, she uses those words. Not a good sign. Tells you that she's a leftist. And leftists, ladies and gentlemen, don't make good economic policy. So says the last 350 years. Ferguson officer out there telling his story. I think the guy's name is Darren. The evidence seems to back it up too, but that won't matter because that doesn't suit race racketeers and the race hustlers and the race charade, the kabuki theater that the left has been perpetrating. Supreme Court allows strict voter ID. In other words, you have to show an ID to prove that you're you when you vote. Seems common sense? Yes, 75% of your fellow Americans agree that there's nothing wrong with voter ID. But the left will continue to get out there on their little leftist trumpet and call it racist. I have a really good piece on courageculture.net with a video, by the way, where, O'Keefe goes in and tries to vote as Attorney General Eric Holder and gets away with it. It's remarkable. This is an interesting story. Do things happen for a reason? Well, according to a new research study, even atheists think that things happen for a reason. But how is that possible without belief in God? Well, it's possible because atheist thinking is like a snake eating its tail. The New York Times has that piece. I also have something cool on courageculture.net and the Atheist Antidote channel, where I debate these issues all the time. I debunk this stuff. I talk about apologetics and theology, and I attack secular extremism at its Achilles heel. Check that out. 150 videos over there. Go check that out. Fannie and Freddie, the very cause, despite what the left has told you, the very cause of the economic meltdown, getting ready to loosen again. Nothing has been learned. I encourage you to find on YouTube a video where every single Democrat was talking about the fiscal security of Fannie and Freddie right before it took a huge housing market dump. This is why Fannie and Freddie forces banks to loan money to people who can't pay it back, mainly Democratic voters. When you can't pay it back, the loans crumble. And when enough of those loans crumble, the economy takes a big porta-potty dump. And that's exactly what happened. Well, second verse, same as the first. Democrats want to loosen lending and force banks to do it again. Israel, by the way, saves the life of a daughter of the Hamas leadership head via medicine. Maybe if Hamas built hospitals instead of tunnels to kill Jews and destroy the little Satan, they'd be able to save children medically. Anyway, I bet you your statist, lapdog, leftist, anti-Jew media isn't going to bring you that story. And lastly, in complete chaotic, nonsensical news, the New York Times, quote, should newborns be identified by sex? Little Jimmy comes out with a wee-wee. Should we put boy on the birth certificate? Ladies and gentlemen, these maniacs of the mind are running your country. And that, sadly, is the news of your day. Thank you for listening. All the links, the stories, and the quippy commentary, courageculture.net.
courageculture.net